Good morning, everyone. Today we're talking about e-commerce delivery technology. How well do you understand your delivery performance in light of recent trends that are shaping retail? So we'll be really drilling down on Metapack's new tracking API today. My name is Darko Atias. I'm CEO of Trailtitude. We are a growth stage technology-focused corporate finance and asset management firm based out of London, Dubai, and Sydney. And I'm here with my esteemed panel today, who will be introducing themselves, starting to my left with Jonathan.
Hello. Yeah, hello everybody. My name is John Sheard. I'm the UK Sales Director for InPost. Just by way of introduction, InPost is Europe's largest out-of-home network. So we have over 45,000 out-of-home locations split between lockers and traditional PUDO points. And we're split between two brands, the Mondial Relay brand and InPost. And we operate across 9 markets. My focus is UK. And we're hyper-focused as a business on building solutions predominantly for Gen Z and millennials around last mile delivery, focusing very much on our locker technology. So convenience, sustainability, digital first. Yeah. So.
Thank you very much. Amy?
Hi everyone, my name's Amy Goodberry. I'm Head of Enterprise Sales for Metapack. It's a pleasure to be here today. I've been with the organisation for 2 years now, and I focus on enterprise customers, helping them make their delivery management seamless, efficient, and we also focus a lot on post-purchase now as well. So how do we optimise that experience for end customers?
Thank you, Amy.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark Kooijman. I'm a director at Trunkers. We are a company founded in 2016. We focus completely on the last mile and do that through connecting, let's say, overcapacity in logistics in the Netherlands and the Belgian part of the Benelux, the Flandria part. It's actually a great day today because we will announce that we have raised a Series B investment last week, Friday, and we are getting 15 million to invest on our strategy of making the last mile logistics completely sustainable and also to get market leadership in the Benelux. So it's going to be a pleasure for me to present and also to answer your questions about that.
Thank you, Mark. And very, very exciting news with the Series B. I've been very active in the space as well, and it's just good to know that there's still plenty of investor appetite addressing, consumer side demand for alternative delivery experiences, which is obviously a part of the topic today. Lots and lots to talk about, omni-channel, last mile, consumer preferences also by market. There's huge growth in hyperlocal deliveries, and clearly with InPost's own investment. Now with this sort of splitting in the market, lots and lots of retailers going hyperlocal, lots more PUDO points popping up, lots more locker solutions. That still requires the need for central carrier management systems, which is obviously where Metapack comes in. They're now part of Octane Group. I'm just going to do Dan's job real quick and just do a little spiel on Metapack for those of you who don't know what Metapack is. The leader in e-commerce delivery tech, which they are. They're still very much the market leader in the UK, certainly in terms of label volume. They've processed over 1 billion shipments in 2021. Present in 150 countries as a part of Octane Group, a very large private equity backed group. So they've got the finance, the nous, and the sort of regional cover to support all kinds of retailer permutations. Without further ado, one of the big developments that Metapack's undertaken over the last sort of 2-3 years at a product level has been the development of the tracking API. Yep. And you've taken a sort of a process cost mitigation aspect to it in terms of understanding where orders are in the chain. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Amy?
Absolutely. So it's all about how we can reduce the burden on retailers' customer service teams. So I suppose there are 2 ways to look at this, and the first is how you put preventative measures in place. By harnessing a really powerful tracking API, you can really enhance the customer tracking experience. So building out your own tracking experience, your own tracking pages, using a tracking API to feed into chatbots, for example, that in itself can alleviate pressure from a customer services team because they're dealing with those upfront, where is my order inquiries, which is still at the top of the reasons for customers to call retailers. So in that respect, using a tracking API straight away, you're reducing cost and you're reducing WSMO, whereas my order inquiries. Now, the secondary point around using a really rich, clear tracking API is that you can arm your customer services teams with up-to-date, clear tracking data so they can deal with things like exception management really effectively and speed up that resolution time. So looking at a tracking API is going to be something that retailers seriously have to be looking at over the next couple of years.
Are you also combining that with customer comms? So the ability to actually update customers regarding
Absolutely. So the tracking API, as I mentioned, can be used for chatbots. It can be used to feed into customer communications at point of either dispatch or giving them updates on their order. So it really allows retailers to completely take control of the tracking experience and what their consumers are feeling when they're going through that process with them.
And in terms of returns, there's been a lot of chat about reverse logistics in particular. So my wife is a rampant post-COVID revenge spender when it comes to e-commerce. So one thing that really annoys her is when a retailer doesn't communicate, particularly on the returns chain. So once an item is returned, is a tracking API also amenable to providing retailers with visibility for the reverse logistics process as well?
It certainly is, and returns should absolutely not be seen as an afterthought. It's one of the key reasons that a retailer will return to you, a customer will return to a retailer, for repeat purchase, is if there's a really good returns proposition, if the customer's kept well informed. And again, that's another reason why a customer will reach out to a customer services team for where is my refund call. And again, that generates a cost. So anything you can do to prevent the customer from actually getting in touch with you and making that experience for the customer as nice as it can be, for their return, to know that it's on its way back to you, making sure that the return is fully traceable. So actually they don't really feel the need to get in touch with the retailer. It's visible and it's traceable for them to see.
And taking the annoyance out of the customer services team.
Absolutely.
So they actually have the right answers at the right time.
Absolutely.
Nothing annoys people more than being put on hold or
In the dark.
not having the right answers. So that's brilliant. In terms of other hassles with returns, reverse logistics again has been a massive topic of conversation over the past few days. Huge increases in volumes, differences by market. As our esteemed panel, seen any innovative solutions or creative sort of problem solving when it comes to returns or taking the hassles out of reverse logistics?
We have indeed. So in the UK, the focus of InPost has been almost exclusively on how we improve the returns process and journey for customers. If you look at the returns journey of old, typically you would go to a post office or a drop-off location where you'd have to queue, wait, then print a label, apply the label, and then have that sent, or print the label at home, all of which adds friction for the consumer in that returns journey. What we've done is really invest in a completely digital end-to-end returns experience for the customer. So first of all, taking the label out of that journey, so there's no print at home. We did quite significant consumer research a couple of years ago, and I think 80% of the 18 to 35 demographic just don't have a printer at home, so there's a real pain point and friction there. So taking that out really helped, and it is truly labelless. So it's not even, at no point in that journey is a label applied, in the customer journey is a label applied to that parcel. So you literally log the return, you get the QR code, you go to the locker, you scan the QR code, you put the item in, you close the door, and you're done. All the labelling bit is then done by the courier and behind the scenes. The locker solution allows you to connect the parcel with the QR code and bring it all together because it's a technology solution, so it all works nicely. It allows us to do that. So it's really powerful from a consumer point of view. The fact it's a locker, there's no queuing, and you can go at any time of the day. So really interesting stat, 25% of all of our returns actually happen outside of hours. In fact, our first return of 2022 was at 4 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day. Okay, it was a Ted Baker return. So it just gives you an example of the complete flexibility, and it really resonates with the younger demographic. They like technology, they like to be in control, and a locker solution just allows that. As long as you've got your lockers in the right locations, which is the other piece of investment that we've been focusing very heavily on within the UK. So we have over 3,600 lockers now across major high-reach locations. We now have all of the major supermarkets, bar Asda, who have their own service. Mm-hmm. So we've got a really great lifestyle integrated network, train station. So it really works that I'm going to the supermarket, I'll just do my return, then I'm on my way to work, I'll just drop it at the train station. So really seen a lot of uptick in interest from that consumer demographic for the locker solution, and it's really helped accelerate our growth, particularly within the UK market, and we're now rolling out that service across our other European markets as well.
Congratulations. So yeah, that was one of the observations several years ago in the UK market. You know, you've effectively tripled your footprint over the last sort of 4 years or thereabouts, correct?
Yeah. Well, when I joined 18 months ago, we had 1,200 lockers in the ground. Okay.
Exactly.
And the conversations with retailers were, if this is a to-home delivery market, no one's going to buy into lockers. And I think there's been a significant shift, one led by our returns proposition, which is driving consumer awareness. Also, the macroeconomic effects have really started to really benefit us, and the fact that consumers are wanting that little bit extra now. It's all come together at the right time, and it's really helped accelerate. But yeah, 1,200 lockers to 3,600 in 18 months, and we'll have over 5,000 by the end of the year. So we're doing over 100 locker installs a week. Right
well done, Jonathan and Mr. Tavaria.
Yeah, that's all down to me.
Brilliant. And post-COVID, I'm just interested specifically around, let's just say, a bit of paranoid behaviour around human interaction. Have you found increased take-up sort of post-COVID on the basis of, sanitary, less touch points, etc.?
100%. And again, COVID helped us on the return side because people didn't want to go to a post office or they weren't open. So we really helped to accelerate our position in market. And what we find is once the customers use the service, they will also use it for the outbound because it's so convenient and they know where the locker is. So we've just seen that we use the returns to drive the consumer franchise, and it's just accelerated. And again, the locations are really helping with that. And the visibility. People can see the lockers now in the UK. They've used it. They can now see the brand on the website, which has been a big focus for us. We call it the Klarna effect. Klarna's all over every single UK website.
Yep.
We want to do the same with InPost. So you'll see InPost branding at every single touch point on that digital customer journey. And so all of that kind of flywheel effect is really helping drive it, and the macro effects like COVID and the sustainability and
oil prices.
Yeah, oil prices, which is the other thing. Because now retailers like, how do we accelerate out of home?
A neat segue to development of hyperlocal infrastructures. I mean, Mark's business, you must have had huge growth over the last 3 years.
Of course, COVID helped us a lot, like all the, let's say, newly built companies in our market segment. And it's interesting to know that, of course, we are a last mile specialist with home deliveries. We deliver every day from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., which means that over 99% of all our packages are delivered every day. That is the highest rate of delivery anyone can tell, because people are at home. Within COVID, everybody was at home, but still now, every day, we deliver 99%. So as long as the consumer wants that, of course, we will be able to deliver that, and we will add as well services. We are testing currently with Nespresso a return process, where either a package which was wrongly delivered will be redelivered by us, and then we get a return, and there's no label printing, whatever needed, because we scan just the parcel we delivered as a return scan, and then it will put in the API, and it will be brought back to Nespresso. We take in the used cups as a sustainability program, and we will start to develop on that. And following up on what John said, it is a very interesting development to see if consumers are getting used to doing things themselves from a sustainable point of view, easy point of view, or whatever. Then of course you need to follow up on that. But we see as well on our side that the rating of consumers about our service is still extremely high. So we're looking for partnerships, but we're not going to focus on that, let's say, in the next 18 months. We're not going to use the 15 million we just raised to do that. We're just going to make it what we do better, more sustainable, more fast, and more quality.
Awesome. And in terms of city versus regional take-up of your service specifically, so the hyper-local sort of 3-hour delivery style of motor transport, I mean, what have you seen city versus regional?
Well, we work, for instance, through Metapack. We work with a large Dutch retailer, MediaMarkt, and they are working in 2 ways. They have their own online business, but they also ship from store. And we take care of all their online business through ship from store. So we pick up at their 23 XL locations in the Netherlands and then deliver that basically all over the place. and they connect as well super local deliveries through other parties like bike couriers or even maybe lockers in the future, I don't know. And so we see that through the omni-channel potential there is, retailers will look for different propositions to the end user, but also different propositions from their own business as where's my stock, where's my consumer, and how can I connect that, let's say, as seamless as possible, and then given a certain sustainability strategy. And I think that development will grow in the near future, and then connected, of course, with all the developments that a platform like Metapack is providing with tracking APIs and seamless customer experiences, rolling down costs in ops teams like customer support and everything else. That is to me like the next step in the future of connecting stock, consumers, and logistical networks to each or in one whole in new ecosystem.
That in itself is an interesting challenge. So a retailer the size of MediaMarkt probably has very distinct retail and e-commerce teams with separate technology stacks, etc. You're a delivery business. You're expecting very clear instructions and labels around where a specific stock item is being collected from. So for a retailer the size of MediaMarkt, say they're doing a third or a quarter of their deliveries from store rather than from depot, how are you giving that piece of inventory or stock identity through the network?
That is all done by MediaMarkt through their system and connection with Metapack. So we are integrated. We just know, okay, this is what we're going to pick up tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're going to be at that store. It's going to be 300 pieces, and we'll just put them through our system. And in the evening, it will be delivered.
Perfect.
So it's a process, no man included. It's just technology, and it's seamless, and it works really, really fine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Amy and Jonathan, around the question around the city dwellers versus the sort of more regional requirements. Have you seen differences in service uptake by segment in the UK?
Should I go first?
Yeah, I can go. I mean, lockers lend themselves to cities because of multi-occupancy. So you think about delivery challenges, especially for those living in flats. A locker solution actually lends itself very nicely. So we do see a higher utilisation of our city centre or city lockers. But our strategy is actually an urban strategy, because if you look at where the distribution of most e-commerce orders are, particularly in the UK, they are really centred around the kind of core urban backbone of the country, so Birmingham, Manchester, London. So we do have a higher density there, but I mean, utilisation of a city centre locker is 75% plus, whereas in some of our more rural areas, you can be down to sort of 20%. So definitely a shift and difference just because of the nature of consumers in those different areas.
So even in just the last 5-6 years, I mean, UK has always been a unique market, kind of like the Netherlands, where you've got a logistics spine up a country, or a particularly small, dense nation like the Netherlands that lends itself towards last mile delivery, but specifically out of home delivery options. Clearly, with take up of lockers and other options, that's something that the retailer should certainly be looking at in terms of what a customer is expecting.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree. I mean, it's a really obvious fix, right? It's using either a third-party network to go and collect your parcel, or a click and collect even. So if a retailer has a network of stores in a city, there's a really obvious choice for a customer to go and collect their item straight away. It's maximum convenience. As a general point, we have seen so many retailers requesting new specialised services, and also requesting the same day solutions as well. So the likes of what we've heard today, Stuart, Pack on the dot as well. And the really nice thing to see with these providers is that they're not only providing an exceptional speedy service, but they're also really heavily focused on the sustainability and the environmental impacts that they're having as well. So many looking at 100% emission-free vehicles, eco-hubs, some of them using this routing optimization software as well. So they're not only providing a premium service, but they're also very conscious that the customers have the thought in their mind that they want to be sustainable and they want to contribute towards that cause, which is really high on all the retailers' radar at the moment.
Amazing. And in terms of surfacing those options for a retailer, because I mean, a customer has to know that they've got a Pudo network available to them, or a collect from store option, or a locker drop-off point. How are you addressing that at a technology level? Maybe we'll start with InPost.
I mean, we're on a mission to create a category, right? So if you look, I use the UK, click and collect is always typically on a checkout will fall under a different tab, and then you have your home delivery options. Click and collect or Pudo, typically between 5 and 10% share. But I think, as Amy was saying, a lot of the retailers now are looking at how they can look at more sustainable options. Out of home is a key part of that, and so the narrative's changing around how do we surface these options so it's clearer to the consumer, particularly in a market like the UK, which is a traditional to home delivery, because the retailers have got a commercial incentive to do it, they've got a sustainability incentive to do it, and there's also a value prop for the consumer. So the conversations are almost like, don't have a separate tab or put it under a click and collect, stick it in your home delivery or your delivery channel, stick it at your top, make sure it's clear, on-site messaging, so throughout the product display page, so it's very clear to the consumer what the options are. There's talk about CO2 calculators coming in, so it becomes very clear to consumers what the different delivery options can offer. So all of that conversation is really happening, and again, a big shift in the retailer narrative. 12 months ago, retailers weren't talking about wanting to prioritise out of home. I'd say 50% of the conversations we're having now, and you'll know this as well, is like, how do we start to surface these in a different way, because we have a different angle.
And it's really important for you to hone in on specific territories as well, because in the UK, the out-of-home options are growing. I think it's something around 6% of deliveries are to out-of-home. But actually, in different territories, like France, for example, you mentioned you're working with Mondial Relay, is somewhere around the 20% mark.
25%. I mean, it's sort of ingrained. That's part of their culture. And in Poland,
Absolutely.
Which is the mothership, it's 80%.
And the Nordics,
Nordics, with our friends in Stocks over
so
there.
It's making sure that you get the right delivery options for each individual territory you're working with. Absolutely.
The message is French and Polish people simply like people less. The sound of it.
I can definitely say that's the case for our Polish friends.
Okay. In terms of sustainability, Mark, you guys have a very pointed sustainability message.
Yes, of course. As we are a company which is asset light, we have no ownership of cars, buildings, sorting capacity. It's just all the overcapacity which is in the market we connect. Basically, of course, through contracts and partnerships and service level agreements to let's say, manifest the quality. But as we do not own it, of course, the capacity is there and we just give it a better use, more use. On the other hand, we see that a lot of our partners, we have 27 partners now in the Benelux, use still part of their trucks and cars powered by diesel or even fuel. And we have developed, together with Rabobank, a proposition for them to electrify the fleet as for the part of trunkers, which is basically just a part of their days. And if we will be able to help them electrify their fleet, then of course during the rest of the day they still will be using this fleet also to bring other packages to other consumers for other companies, as well CO2 neutral, completely electrified. So that is part of this Series B raising, and also at the end of this year we will deliver all our packages in the Benelux, the territory we currently are operating in, electrical to the end users. And of course all CO2 which we are generating is compensated by partly already delivering electrified, around 15 to 20%, but also taking part in the Trees for All program, just to be able to be really sustainable on our end. But and it's a lot of people say, well, it's greenwashing what you do. We understand, but this is also what you have to do. So if you don't do that, then it's not good. But if you want to do it really good, then you need to follow up on this CO2 neutral strategy and electrifying the fleet and really compensate and make it happen.
Yeah, I think we're past greenwashing. I think there's consumer demand, and obviously, as evidenced by your Series B, investor demand, and of course, geopolitical circumstances demand that sort of more sustainable services exist. One contentious point's always been cost, and who bears the cost. I think we have to discuss it. So, what are you seeing in the market at the moment?
That is an interesting thing. I remember so well that when I worked for a platform, we decided to make our deliveries free of charge. which is in essence completely nonsense because it's not for free.
No such thing.
Free returns, it's also not for free. So everything costs. And now we are looking at a global development where fuel prices are going out of the roof. And we have consumers who want sustainable delivery. However, will they be able and wanting to pay for that?
Yep.
And that is an interesting question, because if we would say as a Dutch or a European or even a global movement, guys, free returns, it's non-existing anymore, free delivery, it's non-existing, everybody needs to pay a little bit, at least for CO2 neutral deliveries, then we could make it happen. But who will be the first one to act? Will that be Amazon? Will Jeff then say, guys, we're going to do it?
Nope.
I don't think so. I don't know him, but I don't think so. And in Holland we have also some big players, and if they would make this move, then it would be kind of interesting, and then we can make it happen. But if the big platforms will not do it, then the small platforms can do it because of choice. But what will happen at consumer side? So I think that is one of the major problems we are facing in the future, which is relentless of our strategy, because our strategy is going to be electrified completely end of this year. But the cost side of it, or the investment side of it, is still a difficult path to go.
Yeah, I'd actually like to open up to the audience. I don't think there's any debate that sustainable delivery is here to stay. Full stop. Maybe we would have had a debate a few years ago, but we're definitely past the point of no return. I'd like to open up to retailers, consumers. Everyone buys online, particularly around cost. So talking about, would you be willing to, as a retailer, either sponsor the full cost of a carbon neutral delivery for a customer? And as a consumer, if the cost was passed on to you, would you be willing to pay for the cost of a sustainable delivery? I'd like to open up to the audience for any brave souls to comment, or it's early in the morning, I know. I dare you to comment. No brave souls?
I got a view.
Okay, we shall continue, but it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of, one of the other barriers was, if you're going to electrify a fleet, you need to have enough charging locations.
Yes. Infrastructure.
Again, we passed the sort of critical threshold in the Netherlands?
Yeah. Well, this morning in the news, there was this huge network company called Tenant. And they were telling that in a part of the Netherlands it's impossible, if you have a company, that you get an electric connection, because they are completely full. And then you get these discussions on how can that happen. Well, this network company said, well, we have currently the size, the size of a city of 200,000 people, which just popped up. And of course, everybody understands that if you want to and open up 200,000 electrical connections, then of course you cannot do that from today to tomorrow. And then looking at, let's say, permits or agreements, it's going to take between 8 and 10 years to arrange that. So it is a major problem that we want to make a shift. Everybody sees also the opportunity, but also the need. But then there are all kinds of hurdles along the way to really make it happen. From our side, we have connected into this Rabobank deal with our partners, infrastructure, connections, loading base, all is fixed. In the Netherlands, it's also quite okay. We have a very good infrastructure. I drive electric car already 1 year, and I have had some issues where there's a little queue, but there's no problem that I have an empty battery, which and therefore I need to call the service of Audi. So that is not happening. It can happen in Italy, it can happen in France, even in Belgium. But in the Netherlands, that is okay. So if we have the electric vans, we can make that happen, that we can load them and they can deliver packages to the end user within the certain time schedules and quality. But for the bigger picture, we still have a lot of ground to cover.
But I think unanimously, I mean, I've spent a lot of time, even in the last 6 months, UAE, UK, Australia, certainly in Europe as well. There's a lot of government incentives, tax incentives, capex investment in last mile sustainable charging locations, etc. I don't think the locker industry has the same luxury. You still carry a lot of capex. I remember 5 years ago, Amazon was coming in hot in the market. They were buying space. You had some very expensive rental solutions out there. How have you hacked that capex problem at InPost?
We haven't. I mean, it's still there, right?
Okay.
It's a volume play. So you've got a fixed overhead, you pump more volume through, you dilute that fixed overhead. And we're at that point of inflection in the UK now. So we have the locker utilisation, which means that we've got the unit economic benefits because we've got the volume, which actually addresses the paradox that you were referring to earlier, which is sustainability versus cost. We're at that point of inflection where we have a solution which is economically viable, is a premium solution, maybe not at a price point, but has a sustainability element. So rather than switching last mile to electric, for example, our standpoint is, well, just take the miles off the road in the first place. So address it at source. So you can deliver 10 times the volume of parcels to a locker than you can to a home. So it stacks up. There's a 2/3 reduction in CO2 with a locker delivery over at a home. So we're in a really interesting space where we can break that paradox, where we've got a service that consumers like, it happens to be sustainable, and it's a price point that doesn't necessarily happen to be a burden for the retailer or the consumer. Because to your point earlier, your question, sustainability is not enough for a consumer to make a choice, right? We're just not there yet.
Yep.
So you actually have to have a value prop that means it's going to be easier, because that's the way we're wired. I think in the future it'll become a bigger thing. So you've got to have all of those elements, and I think we're kind of in the middle of that perfect storm to break that paradox. But yeah, I mean, again, the volume it now allows us to dilute and get that point, that unit economic benefit.
Amazing. And Amy, we sort of touched on ship from store. We discussed the Media Markt example. UK, that sort of hybrid nature of giving an order or an item of inventory and identity through the network between the physical and the digital. What are you seeing as a shift in the UK in terms of giving real ship from store options for major big box,
as you can imagine,
retailers?
During the pandemic, we saw a huge spike in these conversations happening because you had lots of stock becoming redundant in the stores, and it was suddenly a huge topic of conversation. So we supported many retailers with this, Holland & Barrett being one of them. So it's in effect turning a retailer's store network into mini warehouses so they can sell stock online and distribute it from their store networks. It's another convenience factor for the customer. It's closer proximity to the customer as well. So you're looking at cost reductions for the retailer too. And it's another arm of convenience as well. It's making sure that you're providing customer with delivery options, and there's a click and collect option with the store network, and then you're using them as a mini distribution centre to actually ship them from the store to the customer as well. So it's a conversation that we started having a lot more of, and not only that, but it alleviates pressure on the central distribution centres as well. So it's a really good idea if there is a store network in place to actually look at the ship from store proposition. Absolutely, there's real benefit there.
Are you still seeing big divisions in terms of e-commerce versus retail operations, certainly at a technology level in different retailers?
Yeah, I mean, the balance kind of is calmed down a bit. As you can imagine, obviously everyone knows there was a big spike towards online, but it's definitely balanced out a little bit now. But generally, we're still having a lot of conversations around how we're optimising the checkout, because we're predominantly focused around the delivery to third-party drop-off points, such as the locker networks. Really, how you're providing the convenience and choice to the customers, really, to optimise on that experience.
Excellent. And Jonathan, Mark, any comments on satisfying sort of retail versus e-commerce stakeholders in different retailers?
A little bit. I mean, we found ourselves in quite a few conversations recently with multi-channel retailers around how they could utilise our locker network to service their own in-store click and collect. So merging with those operations, I mean, it's fraught with challenges, many debates around our own network. How do you then merge a retailer closed loop with an open loop? But there's a solid value prop there, because it really helps reduce in-store costs. There's also an opportunity cost when staff are servicing click and collect. So that there's a benefit there, and also there's a traffic driving benefit as well. So you could, if you're H&M, you could be driving traffic from other retailers if we're delivering Boohoo parcels into a H&M store, for example. So there's lots of discussions. We actually haven't deployed anything in the UK yet, but I think it's a matter of time before we'll get to that point, because I think we're seeing that shift. Consumers still like the e-com, but the convenience of being able to collect or ship from a store is
The real funny thing about ship from store as well is it's incredibly easy. All you need is a PC and a printer.
Yeah.
And if you connect to a system like Metapack, as I said, we virtually set them up as little mini warehouses, little mini distribution hubs. So it sounds a lot scarier than it actually is, I think. So it's quite an easy one to adopt if you just decide to take that strategy on.
Yeah, one barrier back when I was selling locker solutions, amongst other things, for one that shan't be mentioned. One barrier that we had was, if you're perceived to be driving traffic into H&M, for example, on behalf of another retailer, they really don't like that. No. But if you provide an automation solution for Pudo, sort of cleaning up the back store for e-com, because they weren't really catered to address that inventory point yet.
Yep.
Is that what you're seeing?
No, we are. So that's the debate. So, like I said, open loop versus a closed loop. So, does it become just a locker rental for a retailer with their own network? So they're just servicing that the back of store. That doesn't necessarily work for us as a business. When we think about our core objective, we're about growing our network and we're opening up to a retailer agnostic network. So we're not really there. That's not really our strategy. We wouldn't probably do anything that's just solely around just servicing a particular retailer's operations. I think there are other solutions in the market that are probably better suited for that. Having said that, there are some retailers that don't have that same view, and actually they take an open view. Like, our customers want these services, we can benefit from it, and actually we don't mind that we're driving traffic. I mean, it is what it is. Like, retailers want as many locker locations for their customers as possible.
They want their own clients, own logos.
Yeah,
they're so selfish, can't they?
Yeah, they can. And we've done a lot of locker branding as well.
Oh right, yeah. They won't even let you with the Impost brand, or do you insist on that?
No, we run on the Impost brand, but we've also done quite a few locker branding campaigns. We did one with eBay. Did one with Misguided, and actually whenever we do locker branding and we do it with a social campaign, again we see a massive uptick in utilisation.
Oh, fantastic!
So it's expensive, it's costly, but I mean that's great real estate when you think about advertising real estate.
Absolutely,
we just haven't monetised that yet.
It's a unique take. And Mark, probably compared to more traditional carriers in that omni-channel model, you probably have a slightly more flexible commercial model to work with big box retailers like a MediaMarkt. How does your commercial engagement typically go with a major retailer when presented with an omni-channel problem?
It is a matter of what we can add to their proposition, and I'm a strong believer of optimizing the chain. So, like, if you have this online warehouse and you have those stores, then you need to have that stock being interacted, but also being able to deliver to the consumer. It's from all sides of cost and efficiency, and also margin and profits. It's the most sensible way to do it. Of course, you need a network from a carrier which can enable you to do that, and that is a carrier strategy which we have, because we have a network of collection, we have a network of sorting. So a retailer to connect to our network, we just discussed yesterday with a Dutch company. They have 100 locations currently, and they just asked us, can we open up those 100 locations to you? And we said, basically, on volume and on the routes, I think it's possible. So the existing network which is there gives the retailer the opportunity to fulfill a different strategy. And I think that is something which you always need in a commercial process. You need to tell, what do you want, what can I offer, and where can we bring it together? And if we can make ends meet, then of course we have a business together.
I think you're uniquely positioned to win volume just simply on the basis of being a more flexible network.
Yes, although talking about volume, the starting volume with our company is extremely low. It's only 10 packages a day or 50 packages a week. However, if you want to scale that to 500, 5,000 or even 20,000, these opportunities we offer. So there's not a big, let's say, wall to crush if you want to start it up. But if you really want to make it in the flow and you want to really scale it up, then these opportunities we offer, as we are an asset-light platform where we can connect the existing capacity. So we have these 3 shields where we really have access to growth and volume potential.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm out of questions or comments. I'm sick of the sound of my own voice. So I'm just going to dare the audience on one final question. Brave soul, I dare you. I'll buy you a coffee. Questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay. Well, on that note, hopefully the audience wakes up after this session. Amy, any closing remarks?
Closing remarks from me would be make sure you focus on convenient delivery options, which would include out of home, making sure that the customer has the choice. That way, hopefully, that they're going to be pleased with their delivery option and it gets delivered to them safely, or they can collect it safely. Back that up with a really powerful tracking API so that the customer's kept well informed. You can build out your own tracking experience that mirrors your brand and what you've built around your brand and the checkout experience. And then lastly, use that, again, powerful tracking API to really support your customer service teams to deal with any resolutions. That would be my
much. And on that bombshell, we'll wind it up there. Give you 2 minutes of your life back. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.